Hi, this is Fran, and I want to show you how to create some beautiful poinsettias. We're going to start out here with our wonderful cling rubber stamp set, and as you can see here, we get two lovely stamps that are very versatile. You can see the designs here, and you also get a stencil in this package, as you can see the little notation up there. And you'll probably need one of the large jumbo handles to work with it. And we also have this wonderful set of the cutting dies. I have this in my stuffed Tainer and the Crafter's Companion magnetic sheet, and this allows me to store my stamps on one side and all of my coordinating dies on the other side. And as you can see here, we've created some beautiful poinsettia cards using a lot of different techniques, and I'll walk you through a variety of wonderful ways to use each one. While there's one large stamp that has the poinsettia with the greenery, there are actually three different dies that are going to create poinsettia layers with the petals. So I want to show you a couple of tips that I have found is helpful. Now let's say you're just working on your red paper. I wanted you to see how the three of them punch out, and you might just stamp on a scrap piece like this, and you want to stamp it 3 times, of course, to be able to cut your 3 different pieces. And I found that sometimes spinning the die around could get a little bit tricky. So I came up with an interesting couple of tips here that I think might be helpful to you. Okay, so in this case, instead of using all of this paper, and whether you're working on a print, I just pre-cut some smaller pieces for each large, medium, and small pieces that I was going to cut. And then I found that, let me show you this right here. When you stamp it in this position, the first one, if you position it where it lines up, I marked a black dot at what I call 11 o'clock. And this helped me find that tip and line it up more quickly by just giving me a registration point. Then the medium-sized one fits right in here at what I'm calling 11:30. And by putting another dot on that point, I know to start turning it that direction. And then the smallest one, I'll take this out of the way. The smallest one here, I put the point, I put my mark here at what would be 12 o'clock. And this helps me get familiar with this die and work quickly to find the position as I work with all of my die cutting. If you have the magnetic platform, it really makes a difference for ease of lining up your die and fitting it over the image. And you should see equal weight of that outline black showing up, and it pretty much, when it balances out, you don't see that perimeter line at all. So there, it's perfectly lined up and ready to die cut. If you want to create some poinsettias in the quickest way, you might simply work on your solid red paper, or even the green papers here, and then some color pencil work is going to very quickly give you some highlights and some darker shades and really minimize the amount of time to get a very dramatic, beautiful poinsettia. And as you can see on this one, I colored the greens in the background, and I've offset the poinsettia so that the petals now become green leaves in the background. On this one, you can see once it's die cut, you can enhance some of the layers, and even on this one, a little bit of the coloring in the background is going to push the poinsettia forward, and again, you can make use of the leaves in the background. This one out of prints was stamped, but then I built up all of the layers and that gives you a very nice and quick way to create a dramatic card. Color pencils are still one of my all-time favorite mediums to work in. They're so easy to build up layers and layers of soft color, and you can keep going in and adding more until you get a beautiful velvety, vivid range of colors, and move back and forth from one layer to another. And by coloring into the deepest areas behind each petal, you can really get a beautiful three-dimensional effect, even if you don't cut and pop up any of the layers. So on this one here, I'm going to take my cutout and position it onto the green background, and again, all the color pencil work looks nice together. On this one, if I'm going to do a die cut layer where I just want the leaves, notice how I colored that just all in the greens and even colored beyond the lines to make it the easiest to die cut. And here you have some beautiful range of different colors of poinsettias, all done with color pencils. Our mixed media white paper is an incredible value, and the surface is so versatile for everything from color pencils to all of your alcohol marker options. So use your Memento ink to get a nice crisp impression, and then you'll be ready to color. And as you can see here, I've got a beautiful array of my Copic markers with all the beautiful different shades of colors. And we also have the Spectrum Noir, and here there's a lovely set of your reds or your greens, which are perfect for your poinsettias. And over here are your chameleon markers, and this is another wonderful opportunity that gives you a beautiful array of colors, and you can change the values of it as you work your way along. So with any of these different choices, let's show you how we can color the poinsettias. We always think of our poinsettias in rich reds, but don't forget you can also do some beautiful other shades of colors. Poinsettias really come in such a wide variety, and you can do vivid reds to much more subtle and very pastel and vintage sort of a look with your poinsettias, as well as changing the colors of your greenery behind. I'll show you a couple of things here. On these, I kind of shifted one range of greens to another behind. And again, just doing little strokes coming out is going to give you a beautiful effect for the greenery. On this one, knowing that I'm going to cut it out, I actually didn't take the time to color around the perimeter with all of this greenery. And I did even show you how you can choose to make a couple of the petals actually be leaves. And by coloring past the lines, when you go to cut it out, it will make it much more forgiving. Let's talk about our pop-up die set. What started out to work for the beautiful bouquet that we had here, build a bouquet, now we're going to use it in a similar way for the poinsettias. So as you can see, this card that's been all put together here, it pops open, giving you a beautiful array of poinsettias. So the main piece in the pop-up die is this one, and I'm taking a half sheet of your 8.5 by 11. I've created an outside card folded in the middle, and I've created another one a 1/4 inch smaller on both dimensions so that it gets framed by it. I find the midpoint on this card, and when I run it through the machine, I'm just centering it generally, and this is at the midpoint. So it is going to both cut and score your card in such a way that if you turn it over, and you can see this is a double-sided print here, to train the folds, turn it over and see if you can find this narrow little bridge first. Then you should be able to pinch it all the way across the half fold. Then push all the way past the little slot to find the widest part here. Then if you turn it over, you have another little mountain fold on this side of the slot. And that is your main structure. You additionally have 4 little tabs that you can fold all the way up, and once you've folded it up, find the second little fold coming forward. And until you're sure whether or not you're going to use the other ones, you might just start with this one for sure. And if you can see this sideways, that tab is going to bring the poinsettias forward of the vase when it pops up. Another really fun thing to create is this beautiful little doily shape. And in your pop-up set, you have several edgers, and this one used twice is what is giving me this lovely doily. If I want to put it around the vase, then look how you can position this on top, find a level point for these lines, and run it through your cutter again. What this is going to do is it's going to cut this middle panel, and it's going to score that halfway point. And with this one that I've created here, all you have to do is cut away this little tab, and this little doily is now going to slip in around the vase, and it's going to match the fold line, and you can secure it in place and know that it will always fit around the vase. I also want to show you that you're not limited to this narrow format. And if instead you wanted to do a wider card, I've made this one 6-inch, and the inside panel is just wide enough to go through my cutting machine given the width of it. And I've intentionally positioned my die off center to this side, and you could go either left or right. And by doing that, it's going to create another beautiful arrangement that will allow all of these pieces to sit to the side and still have room for a message and something as well. So I went with a dark background so that my lighter color of poinsettias will show up. And just to show you a couple of vase options, you could use the die, and even with the piece that I cut out, you can see it's going to perfectly fit to create a different color little vase like this. But I wanted to mention that in our other die set with Create a Christmas with the tree, this is the vase from that one, which doubles as a package. It's a little bit wider, but we've made it the same height so that this will create another vase option if you like. And just in case you wanted to do this, you could put the little bow die on there as well to make it look even more interesting and more colorful. So we'll put all of those pieces together, and this comes together for a really nice pop-up. And just for your gluing instructions, when you secure all of your pieces, it's best to apply your glue only to the tab areas. Then nothing will stick where you don't want it to, and you can attach all of the pieces. And once everything is secure, make sure that you train the folds to fold it flat. And then when you apply your glue, you're going to only want to go around, glue the frame, and avoid the windows. That will allow you to secure 1/2 at a time to your backing card, and once that is glued, then you can fold it flat, press it, and then proceed with gluing this side, folding it flat and pressing it. When you first open your stamp set, when it says free stencil up here, be sure to claim it. And the first thing you want to do is line it up over the image and actually write on it. I'm taking my permanent marker, and by lining it up to make sure I write on the top side, I'm going to write around the edge and also on my large piece here. So to separate the pieces, we've made the bridges so small and only a couple of them as needed. So you should be able to find the bridge, hold on both sides, and simply pop that little bridge to separate. You have both the window and the frame pieces on the large one. And on the smaller one, we've created just a window plan. So when you pop out each of these little pieces, they're going to be separate, and I just set them aside because I'm not likely to use the small little pieces. But this gives you the window for the mid-size petals, and then this one is one piece for the small one. The same system that I used for the dies is going to help me with the stencils. As you can see, I've written on these points in the same way, so that, like we did for the die, I've got my point marked for 11. I've got my point marked for the 11:30, which is one step over. And I've got my small one marked at 12 o'clock. And that will help me line them up speedily to work with all of my color. Because of the way this die and stencil work, you're going to want to start with your base layer. And a quick way to do that is to take some of your little color cubes and use a stencil brush. The Dreamweaver stencil brush is a wonderful option that makes it quick and easy to work with. So apply your stencil brush in a stippling method onto your ink pad and test it over here on your scrap paper, and see that you're getting a nice coverage but that isn't too wet or unexpected. And then you can begin quickly working in some color through the stencil. I'm just holding it in place around the perimeter. And as I marked over here, if my light source is coming from this direction, I might want to work a heavier band of color in a crescent on this side and lighter on this side. But I can simply go over all of the layers a little bit. Once I've loaded color in, I can keep working rather quickly to lay in this whole area. And sometimes you want to lift and kind of see what's happening and see how light or dark it's getting. Having two different shades of color, I can just progress from one to the other. In this case, I'm now going to darken a little bit more over here in some areas that would be behind the other petals. You can see how quickly you can apply a whole layer of color on the large area, and then as you proceed with each layer, you can line up the next one and begin focusing on adding even richer colors just on that area. And the same way you can keep seeing what's happening and ultimately add your deepest colors on the newest little petals in the center, and you'll get a very nice look that you can develop quite quickly. The stencil brushes also are very easy to focus. You might keep one for reds and use another one for greens. But ultimately you can wash the color out of these brushes quite easily and use them for different colors another time. But now let's say we want to use the positive or the frame portion of the stencil. So now I could simply switch over to using my greens, getting some greens on the brush, and test it over here. Let's see how we're doing. Actually, I think I'll use a little bit more of the darker green just for visibility here. Okay, so now I can cover up all of the poinsettia and quickly apply some color for the greenery behind. And you can see how this cover is going to make it really quick and easy to work all of your different colors together using the stencils. So let's say you wanted to do a scrapbook page. I've stamped the whole design with all the greenery, and I've just turned it to create an interesting array of poinsettias. And then you could see how doing some coloring with the stencils would be a quick and easy way to work into this background. And you could go with reds if that worked with your photos, or you could do your pinks if that was the photos that you wanted to use. On this one, having used the stencils to create the pattern in here, I found that it was also helpful if you want to use a combination of your stencil for the main open areas, but the Dreamweaver Picasso stencil works as a shield. And if you wanted to create some other interest within the petals, you could simply turn the Picasso around until you had both the outside covered and you had this other shield to create some even more detail into the petals and each side. So this is a very helpful tool that way. And you could also use the little circles in the middle if you wanted to come back in with a metallic marker or white or yellow, and use those to find each little area for the center. Then I discovered another really fun option where, and even if I wanted to put this stencil down to protect that area, then I took another beautiful pattern and was able to line this up around the perimeter, and again using the same, actually the two shades of green, I simply, let's see, I'll line this up again, simply went all the way around to create the pattern behind it. And that just gives you another really interesting and fun way to apply color. And again, you could come back in, and to color in the berries, I can take my Versamarker, and even with the bullet tip, I can color in the berries and simply emboss those with our beautiful new red, real red embossing powder. And that would give me an opaque option to highlight the berries or come back in with white and do the little berries of the mistletoe. Let me show you some fun ways to add some special effects to your poinsettias. On this set, I've taken my Versamarker and applied just a swash of wet ink on the tips of each cutout layer. And then we have this new Sparkle Puff embossing powder. It's a 3D embossing powder. So you can sprinkle it on, and then by heating it, you're going to right away get a very fun little area of what looks like some snow and sparkles here onto the edge of the poinsettia petals. I've used a sparkly gold tinsel in the middle, and embossing it lets you proceed right away. It's going to heat it quickly, and you're definitely going to need your little clip tool to hang on to the small pieces. If you want to get really 3D, you also have some options with our Dreamweaver embossing paste. I found you could use any of the whites or the pearlescent, but the regular one worked beautifully. I could apply it either with the palette knife on the edges or simply with my fingers. I was able to catch all of the little tips, and then I also just coated it with shaved ice and also the crystal glitters in any size, and then I had to let it sit and let each of the pieces completely dry before touching them. Debbie made this beautiful little poinsettia pin by creating multiple cutout layers and simply backing it with red paper. Each layer has been embossed. You can simply cover the whole surface and emboss it with crystal embossing powder or clear and get a variety of different effects. And then you can apply a pin backing to the back or use some of your magnet systems to make a pin to wear or a magnet to put on the refrigerator. And another option that I've been playing with is our dies will cut through chipboard, the lightweight chipboard, and that allowed me to cut out multiple layers, and you can attach chipboard and make it as many layers as you like, and they all will line up, and you can glue each layer together, even just with white glue, and create a very three-dimensional piece. I'm working on this one here, and as you can see, I can keep building up layers, and whether you want vivid reds or your pinks, either way. For the backing on this one, I wanted to show how if you wanted to do an interesting print on the back, then you need to make sure that when you die cut it, you turn it over. So if you want the pattern to show, the die would go through on this side so that you get a piece of a print that fits the back shape. With this one, I wanted to use it as an ornament, and I've created a little jump ring at the top and the bottom. The way to do that would be secure is to create one piece that goes all the way through. So I took a piece that was about 5 or 6 inches long of wire, and I created my loop by simply bending over a tool like this, hanging on to both ends and spinning the tool around to create a really nice little round jump ring. So now this long piece can run from top to bottom and be glued within layers of chipboard so that it won't even show or be lumpy. This way you can create a beautiful ornament so it would hang. You could put a hook at the top and create other beautiful dangly beads or ornaments at the bottom. And I'm still playing with another option as well of simply doing some ribbon between the layers. So on this one, we'll have the look of a beautiful ribbon at the top, and then this will all dangle below to create a beautiful ornament for your tree. So now you can create a poinsettia and make a Stampendous impression every time.